Hello everyone and welcome to Dice Commando. Andrew here with you today to break down the Grievous deck for solo mode, the Impossible Grievous deck. Alright, so the general Grievous deck I have designed and I've dubbed the hard level, and I think you will understand why very shortly. So just going into Grievous himself, he doesn't look all that different from any of the other guys that we've seen. His damage sides are a little more aggressive, but that would make sense with Grievous, right? He has 3/2 melees, a 2 indirect, a 2 shield, and a blank. And then of course he does the standard thing where he plays an action card every round. If he can't play that action card, he'll either claim or he will pass. And at 20 health, he doesn't stand out as being, any really that different. What does make him different, I think, is his plot, designed to kill. So include only if you have Grievous on your team. Start the game with 2 copies of upper arm and 2 copies of lower arm attached to your characters. Let's go look at the arms, right? But naturally that means he is starting with 4 attachments, okay? So upper arm is 3 indirects, a discard, a shield, and a blank. Lower arm is 2 indirects, a disrupt, and 2 discards. And I gotta tell you, those discards are super impactful. So he's starting with 2 upper arms and 2 lower arms. So when Grievous activates, he's bringing in, that's right, 6 dice. Okay, now 4 of those are semi-piddly dice, but it's still a lot of dice to hit the pool at one time. All right, so let's move into his dice cards real quick. So the first one is Intimidation Tactic. 2 indirect, 2 discard, special, and a blank. Roll this die into the boss pool and resolve it. If able, remove it. Deal 1 damage. Special is deal 1 damage up to 2 opposing characters. Hero player chooses targets. Okay, so nothing super special there. But if you look at these sides and compare it to some of the other roll-in sides that we've seen, you see that this is a little more aggressive. It's either dealing damage, it's discarding. That's really all it does, right? It can miss on a blank, and that's fine. But this card is a little more in the aggressive sense than we've seen on some of the other bosses. We now have Coordinated Arm Slam. This is the next one. 2 indirect, 1 discard, 2 discard, special, blank. Roll this die into the boss pool and resolve it if able or remove it. Special here is deal indirect damage equal to the number of mod upgrades on this character. Right, so that is important. So now I want to go back to the upper arm and the lower arm, because before we looked at just the die side. So what these guys read as is damage may be resolved against this upgrade as if it were a character with 4 health. Set this upgrade aside if it has 4 or more damage on it. Right, so the idea here in the design was that you could chop Grievous's arms off. That's what it really boiled down to. However, that effectively gives the sucker 36 health if that's the route you choose. So you can choose to just go for the body. You can choose to disarm him if you want to. If you wanted to send a packet of damage through and get 1 die off the table, that's your options. There are a lot of different ways to play against this guy. But when I was doing this, I found that obviously you wouldn't be putting the damage into his body, or you wouldn't be putting the damage in his arms. You just want to try and take him out for the 20 health, right? So that's where a Coordinated Arm Slam came through, was it would basically give you a reward. Not only would you be removing dice from the table by chopping his arms off, but you would also make this card less and less effective, right? So the idea here is he's going to use all of his arms to just hit you at one time, but if he doesn't have any arms left, the impact of that is null. So there's a little bit of trade-off there on, do you want to go the long game, get his arms off? Do you just want to go straight for his body? All right, so then in Grievous, I have 2 2-ofs just to help kind of streamline him. And again, with his arms, I had to be very careful to not go too crazy. So we have Whirl Attack. Now you'll notice Whirl Attack has Ambush, which means he gets to play a card, resolve it, and then he gets to play another card and resolve it. And with the ambushes in here, Grievous can actually hit a lot of damage very, very fast, which is why Grievous is very, very difficult to play against. All right, so Ambush. If Grievous is not exhausted, activate him. Resolve all weapon dice in the boss pool, 1 by 1 if able. Then reroll all boss dice showing a blank. Right, so he comes in, and again, this is another reason to chop off his arms, right? Whirl Attack, he gets to hit you with his arms. Remember, his arms are mods, right? He gets to hit you with his arms and then reroll any boss dice that are blank. If he doesn't have any arms left, this card is worthless except for the reroll and the blank. Then have 2 copies of Brutal Strike, which also has Ambush. If Grievous is not exhausted, activate him. Resolve a die showing melee damage against a hero character with the least health. Resolve a die showing indirect damage. This is another reason that Grievous is a lot more aggressive, is a lot of the other guys split their damage, or they'll go for the guy with the highest health. Grievous is a dirty guy. He goes for your lowest character. He's picking off the little minions, just a lot of times like we would in normal Destiny, right? It gives him a little more effectiveness trying to chop your guys out and get your dice off the table as well. Okay? So, again, this is also getting 2 dice off, right? Because he's doing melee against your least health and then resolves a die showing indirect, right? And again, there's no thens there. You don't have to do one or the other. You do it all. Okay, and this has ambush, so he's playing another card, right? So with the 2 of here and the 2 of before, he could potentially play 5 cards in a row, right? So Grievous can hit real hard and real fast. Right, next we have Cunning Ploy. If Grievous is not exhausted, activate him. Resolve all non-damage dice in the boss pool 1 by 1 if able. Then reroll all dice in the boss pool not showing damage. Again, this is the card that every other hero has. It's a functional one that works. It gets the dice off the table that can't be resolved towards characters. This card can be pretty impactful if it comes early when he has a lot of dice in the pool, dumps your hand, gives him shields, disrupts, something like that. Then we have Forced Submission. If Grievous is not exhausted, activate him. For each boss character showing damage, force the hero player to choose and remove a die. Then reroll all boss character dice not showing damage. Right? So this card is huge if it comes at the right time. If he has a couple, because remember, he has 6 dice in the pool with all of his arms. So that's another reason you might want to actually start chopping off his arms. If they have a piddly indirect out there, you could potentially have to remove a die for that piddly indirect. Then, even if for some reason he doesn't have stuff, he doesn't make you remove a bunch of your die, he gets to re-roll his dice, and then he can play cards later that can maybe resolve those dice against you. Okay, so that is the end of the Grievous deck. I do think the Grievous deck is really hard. I'm not saying that there's not ways to beat it. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm sure you guys can come up with crazy ways to do it. Hopefully you can do it better than just playing Ewoks against him, which will work. But yeah, I think Grievous is really hard, so I think he provides a really good challenge, so I'm curious what you guys will come up with to beat him. And let me know how it's going, but if nothing else, go Commando.
Thank you.